House OK's stopgap funding fix with broader deal still under wraps. The House passed a stopgap spending bill Wednesday night that gives negotiators an extra week to finish a $1.7 trillion year-end spending package, setting up an all-out legislative sprint before lawmakers leave for the holidays. The temporary funding patch, approved in a 224-201 vote, staves off a government shutdown Friday at midnight and extends federal cash through December 23. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said the Senate could pass the measure as soon as Thursday, as long as there isn't unwelcome brouhaha, a reference to the ability of any one senator to hold up the funding fix in exchange for concessions or amendment votes. The House vote on the stopgap comes after leading appropriators finally cemented a deal Tuesday night on a bipartisan framework to pave the way for a sprawling year-end funding bill that would boost federal agency budgets for the current fiscal year. It's an enormous lift for a Congress that has struggled to do anything on time, with critical issues like military readiness, Ukraine aid, and Medicare cuts on the line. Senate Appropriations Ranking Member Richard Shelby, Republican Alabama, declined to get into details about the broader spending deal Wednesday, only saying negotiators now needed to do some allocation. "We've made the first big step," Shelby said. House Appropriations Chair Rosa DeLauro, Democrat Connecticut, was confident Wednesday morning that House Democrats can pass the massive spending package once it comes together, noting that earmarks will help build support for the legislation. DeLauro must ensure the bill can get through the lower chamber, with only 2 Democratic votes to spare if every Republican opposes it. House Republicans largely voted against the one-week stopgap, and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy is signaling opposition to a broader spending deal, too. The House GOP's top appropriator, Representative Kay Granger, Republican Texas, has not been involved in negotiations. "There's been tremendous input from our caucus in how these bills were constructed and what's in them," DeLauro said in a brief interview. "We're going to help meet their expectations. Community projects are in there as well. I expect that I will have support." Schumer said Wednesday morning that the framework is a big step in the right direction, though we still have a long way to go. In a floor speech, he characterized the yet-to-be-revealed outline as a balanced approach because it will contain wins for both sides. He has also said the final year-end spending package will include a revamp of the Electoral Count Act, an outdated law former President Donald Trump tried to manipulate to overturn the results of the 2020 election, in addition to tens of billions of dollars in emergency money for Ukraine. Senate Republicans held a special conference meeting on Wednesday in which they focused on a strategy to avoid another end-of-year spending fight next year, discussing how to use their leverage on the Senate floor and how to tackle a looming fight over the debt ceiling. And some GOP senators won't give any guarantees about letting either the stopgap or the comprehensive funding bill through easily. "I don't ever signal in advance what procedural steps I might take in response to something like that. This is gonna have to be a real-time decision. We've got concerns with it," said Senator Mike Lee, Republican Utah. Meanwhile, Senator Rick Scott, Republican Florida, said he'll make the decision as we see what's going on. During a press conference Wednesday, a small group of conservative Republican senators wouldn't say whether they would object to speeding up passage of the one-week stopgap measure. Instead, they reiterated their push for a short-term funding patch into early next year, which would allow House Republicans to weigh in. The topic also came up at the GOP lunch, according to Senator Kevin Cramer, Republican North Dakota, who said he is probably a no on the broader deal. "Most of us want to know a very basic question like, what is actually the top line?" Cramer said, referring to the overall spending levels. "There's a lot of frustration about the lack of top line, lack of other details. At the end of the day, there probably will be enough people to pass a comprehensive spending deal, and there will be a bunch of people upset about it. It'll be more votes and nothing will have changed." While appropriators announced their deal Tuesday night, they didn't release details on the bipartisan funding framework, keeping the specifics under wraps to avoid fueling opposition against the mammoth spending bill that has yet to officially come together. But negotiators have largely settled on about $858 billion for a defense budget, representing a 10% increase over current funding levels. The biggest hang-up between both parties has been reaching an agreement on funding levels for domestic programs. DeLauro and retiring Senate Appropriations Chair Patrick Leahy, Democrat Vermont, have fought for social spending increases designed to keep pace with inflation, arguing that non-defense funding can't come at the expense of a bigger military budget. But Republicans have insisted that a lot of Democrats' domestic spending priorities have been satisfied by party-line bills over the last 2 years. As such, the majority party may have to settle for less social spending than they originally wanted.